I used to spend hours playing video games, and I was good. Like, really good. But one day, it just hit me. Like, what if I was playing the wrong game? The grinding, the strategy, the obsession with leveling up. What if there was another game that I could have been playing? Because trading is the most real game there is. You have levels, you start at 0, and you lose over and over again. There's a learning curve, and there's a boss fight. But eventually, it all clicks. You unlock something, a strategy, a way to actually win. And in this video, that's exactly what I'm going to give you. A strategy, a way to actually win in trading. Because most people are stuck at level 1. They can't beat the boss fight and they can't level up. And it's not because they suck at the video game. Because there's no such thing as a game created for a specific player and not a different one. If you learn the strategy or the mechanism that's going to give you a path to the finish line, then you're going to beat the game. You're going to be able to get there. And in trading, I've created a strategy that helped me win. And in 30 days using this strategy, I made $12,456. And I'm going to show you exactly how you can do that too. This strategy revolves around 3 main core concepts: fair value gaps, specific time-based entries, and liquidity manipulation. So with those 3 things locked down, you're going to be able to master this strategy. So this trade right here is the exact strategy that I'm going to show you and how you can actually trade these kind of setups every single time. Now Marky, this just looks like a random setup. How am I supposed to actually trade this? Like, you don't have anything marked out. But there's specific criteria to every trade that I take. And you might also be wondering, but Marky, this is London session. Don't you normally trade Asia? And you would be completely wrong about that. Because the thing with this strategy is that I don't limit myself to the kill zone. My strategy revolves around the setup, and whenever that setup provides itself, that's when I can actually hop into a trade. But I'm not going to sit around waiting an Asia session every single day to force trades that aren't there, because you should have a setup that you wait for instead of placing random trades expecting it to go in whatever direction you're coming into the market aiming for that day. So how can you actually take this specific setup? Let me break it down for you. And this comes down to what these 2 gray shaded areas are below and above. And one of the things you might have learned when you started trading is daily narrative. What is the daily narrative? It's just as simple as the name sounds. It's finding a trade from the daily time frame. And how do you do that? You essentially figure out where the daily time frame is going. And in this specific setup, you can see that this lower gray shaded region is a daily bearish fair value gap that got closed above. There's this concept I want to teach you called IFEGs, and that's essentially when a fair value gap with a initial direction gets disrespected. So this fair value gap right here is a bearish fair value gap. So essentially when price comes up and respects it, we want to see price go down from it. However, if you have a higher time frame narrative that's pushing price even higher than this, then when a bearish fair value gap gets closed above just like this, it now becomes a bullish fair value gap and you want to see price pull higher from it. And that's exactly what you'll see happen right here. The next day opened, came down into it, and respected it going higher. That's because it's now a bullish confluence. This most recent setup that I took to make me thousands of dollars came from that same exact confluence. Essentially, when a bearish fair value gap gets closed above, it becomes a bullish confluence. And when the next daily candle comes down into it, you expect price to pull higher from there. And that's exactly what happened. Now, how do you know what to target? And that also comes from the daily time frame. So here below, we have a daily bearish confluence that was used as our entry for the bullish trade. Now, where do we aim for? You simply look for the next daily fair value gap. Here we have another bullish confluence that got closed below, and we would be expecting sell side from it. And right above that, we also have a bearish fair value gap that we could be targeting on the daily time frame. So essentially, we would be aiming from a bullish fair value gap to a bearish one, and that's exactly what happened in this specific daily candle range. So now let me break down the actual setup that I took on the lower time frame using the 3 main components that I said earlier in the video. Now, who remembers the 3 main components that I mentioned earlier in the video? Let's check off some boxes. So the first one is fair value gap. Now, the fair value gap that I identified here in this setup was this bearish fair value gap that got closed above. Now, Marky, why did you take this specific fair value gap and not one lower? Or why did you not take one of these higher? I did already cover this in my ultimate guide to fair value gaps video, so be sure to check that out if you want to know exactly why I took this specific setup. But that comes down to the second component that I used, and that's time. And you can see right up above here, we have the London session. And the reason why I took this specific fair value gap right here is because this happened at exactly 2 a.m. And it's not the fact that it just closed randomly. It closed exactly at the bottom. it could have pulled a little bit lower and it would have disrespected it, which means that I would have been expecting price to go lower. As soon as I saw how precise that close was, I immediately got into my position, not looking for anything on the lower time frame, because I already checked off all my boxes. I had a really good target up above, which was liquidity. We had equal highs that have yet to get swept, and we have a daily target up here. That's why I was looking for longs. Remember that we are coming from a daily bullish fair value gap and we're targeting a daily bearish one. So as soon as that happened, the candle closed, I got in because it was already London session and I simply targeted these equal highs. That trade by itself made me over $5,000. Now, if you want to catch setups like these, remember, just check off those 3 boxes. The first one, fair value gaps. The second one, specific time, kill zones, right? You want to be trading during one of the main sessions. And also, don't choose a specific session and try to stick to it. If you have the time to be trading other sessions, then take a step back and wait for your setup to present itself, because you're not always going to get your setup during your session. And the last thing is have a good liquidity target. Most of the time the trades actually come from a liquidity sweep, but if you can't get in off of a liquidity sweep, sometimes the setup is going to be able to target a liquidity sweep. So be sure you have really good targets. Now, was that simple or what? That's because you don't have to overcomplicate trading for yourself. And I feel like a lot of trading influencers take you guys through a rabbit hole because they try to overcomplicate concepts so that they stand out from everything else. But in reality, it's simpler than you think. If you create a strategic approach, you're going to create a path to the finish line and you're going to beat this game, just like as if you were playing a video game. Remember all those hours that you thought you wasted playing video games? Use that thought process that you have now from video games and level up in trading, because this game will make you a ton of money. So remember, you're either going to start losing a lot of money thinking like this, or you're going to make a lot. Remember, rank up. Create a strategic approach to beat the final boss and level up in trading. Now, if you enjoyed this video, let's review what I went over. My strategy comes from 3 main core concepts, and that is the fair value gap, specific time for entries, and either getting your trade off of a liquidity sweep or having a liquidity sweep as your target to get out of the trade. Those 3 things will make you a profitable trader as long as you use it in a strategic approach, just like as you would if you were playing a video game. Now, without further ado, if you enjoyed this video and you learned something new, comment down below what you're struggling with in your trading career right now and what you think you have to do to actually get out of that rabbit hole that you're in.